Baylor football coach Dave Aranda with me, David Smoak, 365 Sports. You have mentioned this a lot throughout the year, and you said this in the postgame. And first of all, thanks for your time as always, that there's a tug of war, that you kind of have a tug of war on whether or not whoever, player, position, team is ready. And honestly, how can that be 10 weeks into the season? How frustrating is that?
I appreciate the question. I think there's a fair amount of anxiety would be one thing. I think our players get it into their head, and it prevents them from showing up or responding, I guess, to adversity the way that you like, and you see reactions instead. I think that's one. Then I think the other thing that pops up is that there's been some growth in just the discipline off the field with the team, and I think that it's really the best training for what comes up on the field is when you're doing all the little things right off the field. And I kind of hate to bring it back to that, but it's just so foundational, and I feel like I've failed, I think, in that category to really reach as many people as I could, or I could have. And so, I think there's guys that whether they're young players that are still learning, or there's older players that have maybe graduated that want to come back to maybe win another thing, and then just all the details that have to be on point, and all of the learning specialists that have to be on time, and the classes that have to be you have to be prepared for, and the papers that have to be due on time, and just all those things. I think that is a second thing. And then I want to say just the third would be the ability to, within a system, play green. And so to be yourself when you're with us, and so to not just be a robotic or not just go off and do your own thing, but to kind of be within a system and then play and really kind of express yourself. And I think there's some good examples of that last year. I think there's some examples of that this year too, but just not enough.
You've brought that up a lot this year. Is it disappointing that they haven't gotten it, that it's still a battle?
Yeah, I think, for me, it just shows how tough communication can be. I think it probably makes me better. My hope is that for our team, they individually, for them, personally for them, it's going to end up making them better, because I think at some point they'll get it. I don't know. I think at some point,
you're running out of time.
At some point, I think they'll get it. Well, I'm just talking for life.
Yeah, well, no,
I'm just talking for life.
Sure.
That they'll understand and they'll get it. And then I for the guys that are on our team right now that have gotten it. And there's Mike Makuza is a guy I'm really proud of his growth. Apu Aika is a guy I'm really proud of with his growth. TJ Franklin's a guy I'm really proud of with his growth. Even Connor Galvin, beginning of the year, kind of feeling all pumped up with just what was said about him. And we kind of lost him for a little bit, and we got him back. And so there's just so much with those guys, just that it transcends football. But when it turns on for them, I mean, you really get to see them, and it's just way cool. But for a few, it's probably more than a few. For others, it's been difficult.
In 2020, the thoughts, again, you and I spoke about this many times, about who you are, your demeanor. Tony Dungy, Lovie Smith, Tom Landry, and I'm mentioning them because of their demeanor. Doesn't mean there's not a fire in your stomach. And then 2021, you're a genius. And all the philosophical stuff was brilliant. And then now there's some disappointing losses. Do you feel like players take advantage of your demeanor?
I don't think so. I think, I think it's all tied together. I think if I was to be just, maybe F-bombs and short fuse and all that, what that would really mean is probably, number one, it's all about me.
Right.
I don't really, all the other guys are here just to serve me and get my stuff done. That'd be one. Two would be, there'd be a culture on the staff of like, well, I wonder what Dave's going to be like today.
Yep.
Is it going to be a good day? Is
up
it
and down
be a bad day?
Yeah.
And then you just have there's more to that too. And then you just have all of the kind of the trails off of that. And so, the accountability, I do not believe has been an issue. I think it's been more of, hey, coach has talked about this. This is something that we've spent time on, and we're still struggling to do it, right? And whether that's stay together and not abandon technique, whether that's get our grades up and our GPA and our class attendance to what it should be. I think just those things I can lead with and help and nudge and guide with. Really, we've got to get our guys to make that choice to do it. And when they do, it's just crazy how stuff comes to them. And so, like I say, there's been guys that has happened, probably not enough.
In 2020, you were amazingly loyal to Charlie Brewer, and then eventually he left. Mm-hmm. And then last year you had the great situation with Gary, and then Shapen comes in and does well. You made the decision in April or whatever it was about Blake being QB1 and Gary moved on. When you made that decision, it appeared as if your offense would be much more dynamic. Mm-hmm. Why hasn't it been dynamic in the passing game, and or did you ever think about going to Kyron just to change it up on Saturday night?
No, I appreciate that. I would say, these last couple weeks offensively, we've been productive. I think passing game wise have probably been okay the last couple games. I think previous to that, when the run game was probably not what it needed to be, I thought the passing game was pretty strong. And so I think going into this pass game, it'd be great if we could do all of these things at one time. It's about time to do this. And so I'm sure that pressure was being felt by him, and just by watching him play on Saturday, that's what was speaking to me. Is that here he is, here's Blake trying to press this or force this or trying to make this happen and all of it. So I think with all that, I got to look at myself first, and I got to look at the environment and if there's anything I did there to get that. Because, we're up here yesterday and we're watching, putting the game to bed and going through all of it. And we have family dinner, so our families come up and with the staff. And so we're seeing them and trying to have a break from it. And out of the quarterback room, Blake comes out and he's got all the young receivers in there. And they're all watching the game. They've been in there for like 3 hours, And so I think so much of it too is that he goes really, and he's tied to the hip with them. And so like their improvements, their growth, their trust in, hey, if there's a hitch and it's run at 4, we can't be running a hitch at 8. Mm-hmm. And that's happened. And so I think things like, the whole thing, you wish it was kind of a one-stop shop, and it just hasn't been. And I think one of the more consistent things in the throw game probably has been Blake. And so, we got all the faith in him, and we're looking forward to this next one. We're going to, we got hit with a lot of man pressure in this last game. I would not be surprised if that's all we see in this next one.
So do you already start looking at red shirts? Have you already made up some of those decisions? You don't have to get into specific players if you can't, and is that something that you may lose because you can't win a Big 12 title? Mm-hmm. Do you start to maybe make decisions on who maybe plays down the stretch based on satisfying them and not wanting them to go anywhere else?
Appreciate that. Not so much with that in mind. I think it's more of what can help us win. And so if it's a special teams, addition, or if it is a, hey, this particular piece on defense, a guy that can cover a slot but also play a half and this third down role, maybe that's somebody that's in that criteria. Or maybe it's, hey, it is a third down blitz package and we need someone that can beat a back one-on-one. It could be that. And so that is always in discussion, and that's really being talked about right now.
Last week there was a lot of talk about the attendance. Do you as a coach care about whether the fans show up for a game, is a sellout, what uniforms you wear, anything like that ever get inside your bubble?
No, but I think I did notice the athletic staff really make a push. I'm seeing stuff pop up of, our baseball coach saying, go to the football game. Yeah. And I'm seeing all that. And it's like, it makes you feel a part of, and it makes you feel like there's support, and it makes you feel like I think really, dude, it's way bigger than you, and so that's always good to feel that, and so that, but then I think I would start to feel it, what the players are feeling some on Friday, just with that, hey, it looks like it's going to be a good crowd, or the kids are saying, hey, I've got however many people coming, and I know for them it matters, the energy for that, and especially when we're on the road and we're in these environments and they have to kind of quiet the crowd with execution. They know what it's like on the other side, and so for them to be in environments where it's that to our advantage, I know that's something that hits them for sure.
The fan base came to the game, no doubt, and it started building around Tuesday or Wednesday, and whether they wanted a blackout or whatever, and they were there. Mm-hmm. And it's like you guys blew a tire. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you mentioned that in your presser, but is that like a missed moment right there?
There's no doubt about it. Yeah, you feel that, and it's kind of it's just so. I'm just so disappointed in myself, really, and so it's hard. It's hard medicine to take.
Disappointed in yourself. You say that a lot. Mm-hmm. And I'd asked you that in the press conference last week. Not a lot of head coaches ever admit that, Dave. You don't have a problem with admitting it. Is that because that's, obviously you're a guy that's going to tell the truth, but is that ever something that maybe affects the leadership of the team? Or does it actually strengthen your leadership in the team?
I would say, first of all, I think telling the truth has always been something I aspire to do. I think it's hard to do. I think difficult conversations are never always get your stomach going and all of it, and you'd rather not have them. But I think when people that you're with every day see you and they know, and then when you open your mouth and you talk and it's like, that's not what I saw, or that's not what I experienced, or that's not what, I was there, then I think the integrity erodes, And so I think when you own it, and what you first, I guess, probably before any of that, is that, hey, ain't no one perfect, and ain't no one trying to be perfect, and ain't no one here have all the answers. That's got to be first. And so if anyone's saying any of that, then that's just someone's ego talking, I think that would be probably the foundational thing. And so that I think when you go up you walk up those levels and you get to where you're in front of the team and you're saying what you say, I think what that enables me to do now is if I can tell the truth on myself, I can tell the truth on everything, whether it's an assistant coach, or it's a game plan, or it's a player, or it's this type of attitude on the sideline, or it's, and then I think it's just so much easier to deal with reality when you can realistically talk about it.
What would you describe this year? 6-4 bowl team, been some challenges. How would you describe this season based on the expectations, and then also what you actually can get?
Yeah, I think it's been probably framed by expectations, and I think unfortunately, and I think there's been a lot of growth with the team. I think there's been improvements. I think there's been areas that the team has matured in spots that they didn't even know they needed maturing on. And then I think there's blind spots that we had that we didn't even know we had. And so I think that discovery of the whole thing throughout is probably my biggest takeaway. But I think there's an opportunity to finish really strong with this one. And I think there's another great opportunity right after that. And so, kind of mentioned it before, is that the response is going to be the biggest thing. Like how we respond is really going to be, especially after just the dud of this last one, is really going to be kind of what is the heart and soul of the team.
Dave Aranda, Baylor football coach, 365 Sports. What is going to be